Coming up, a thrilling finish in Atlanta, and the Dodgers get another great start from Dustin May. This is Locked On Game to Game, MLB.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. Local experts join us to go over the biggest stories in baseball and recap all of the action for you from yesterday in MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. It was a walk-off win in Atlanta last night as the Braves came back against San Diego to get the 7-6 victory. Locked On Padres goes over a tough loss to swallow to start the series.
Well, that was a bummer. What's going on, guys? Javier Reyes here, the Locked On Padres podcast. Rocking the nice framed picture of the Padres in the background here. The Padres lose this one. Walk-off hit by Orlando Arcia to put the Braves on top 7-6. It was a bummer, but overall, I mean, in fairness, it was a great game objectively, even if the Padres lost it. You got home runs from Jake Cronenworth in this game, from Matt Carpenter. It's just that, unfortunately, some of the same issues. You even have a Juan Soto, great defensive play, but unfortunately, some of the issues that we've seen so far the Padres continued. Blake Snell, we were hoping he would enter Snellzilla form for once earlier than usual. So far, that has not been the case. Only 3 innings in this game, 3 2/3, I believe, for him in this game. So that's not great, even if it is against a great Braves team. And then the bullpen imploding yet again. Tim Hill and Nabil Krismat, the kind of perpetrators this time. Hopefully that can get better as the season goes on, and maybe, Steven Wilson breaks out, and then Robert Suarez gets back to full health. You get anything out of Pomeranz. But for now, that's really unfortunate. But I really do believe it was a great game, objectively speaking, and I would love for the rest of the series this weekend to go that way, just hopefully with the Padres being on top and whatnot. So stay tuned for tomorrow's episode, though. I did a crossover with Jake Mastriani of Locked On Braves before this game happened and took place, so that should be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that, and of course, guys, remember, stay faithful.
The Red Sox have turned things around. They spoiled Detroit's home opener on Thursday. Locked On Tigers and Locked On Red Sox in to break it down.
Well, the Red Sox come into town and spoil the Detroit Tigers home opener. I am Scott Bentley of Locked On Tigers. A lot to take out of this game. First off, the new outfield wall. Aside from optics, which is a completely different conversation, going to take some adjusting there for Riley Green to get used to it, I guess. Spencer Turnbull on the bump in this one. Better than start one, but certainly a long ways to go to get back to peak Spencer Turnbull that we were seeing before Tommy John. We'll talk about that on the show. Then the offense, just kind of a same song and dance. Need to string some good ABs together. Consistent at-bats, and then a lot of question marks surrounding the bullpen on who should be the high-leverage relievers and who shouldn't. I think Jose Cisneros is pretty quickly playing his way out of being in the conversation of pitchers that should. So we'll discuss all of that and much more surrounding the Tigers home opener and a look ahead at the rest of the series on tomorrow's episode.
Adam Duvall played hero for the Red Sox on Thursday afternoon with a 3-run home run to give the Red Sox the lead once and for all for a victory over the Tigers. Hey, it's Lauren from Locked On Red Sox, and things looked a little dicey for Boston. Chris Sale walked the first 2 batters he faced on 8 straight pitches. Oh boy, here we go again. But nope, he settled down. He did what he does. He got into a groove and was able to help lift the Red Sox to victory. He also got a little help from Rafael Devers and Adam Duvall, who both homered, with Duvall's homer being a 3-run shot to give the Red Sox the lead, and they never looked back. Very good for Boston to get back in that win column. Jake and I are going to break everything down for you, from Chris Sale's start, the homers, and then another error by Kike Hernandez. Whether we should be concerned about that, we have you covered on our next episode of Locked On Red Sox.
The Blue Jays stringing together a couple of wins on the young season. They took down the Royals yesterday. Locked On Blue Jays is in with everything that you need to know.
Hello, friends. Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays. That is now 1, 2. That is 3 victories in a row for your Toronto Blue Jays. Shout out to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who remained hot today. Shout out to Matt Chapman, who remained hot today. And shout out to Kevin Gausman, who remained hot today. And by the way, how lovely was that? Kevin Gausman pulled in the 7th inning with a couple men on. Gives way to the bullpen, right? And Anthony Bass comes in and shuts the door. We know things were different in that playoff game. Same scenario, 7th inning being pulled and against Seattle. Anyway, but yeah, great to see Bass strand those runners so that Gausman's ERA can remain sparkling at 0, clean at 0. Blue Jays now head out to Los Angeles for a 3-game weekend series against the Angels. Make sure you tune into Locked On Blue Jays tomorrow, as we'll get you set for all 3 games.
Coming up, another quality start for Dustin May. This is Locked On Game to Game, MLB. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game MLB is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Baseball is back, so it's the perfect time for you to download their app. New customers get that no-sweat first bet of up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. So if you download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, it's safe, secure, super easy for you to use. You can bet on everything from the money line to point scorers to home runs in the game. FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. Don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet of up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Welcome back. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you again for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Kyle Freeland showing out for Colorado. The home team gets an old-fashioned 1-0 win. Locked On Rockies joins us with more.
Rock on Rockies fans, Paul Olden here from the Locked On Rockies podcast. A classic Coors Field game. 1-0. The Rockies hold on. Kyle Freeland has started now, I believe it was 12 2/3 innings scoreless. He's looked sharp. Pierce Johnson, the Colorado native himself, closes the game out, and the Rockies hang on. Justin Lawrence avoids a little bit of late drama. The bat's not as clutch as you'd hope, but Chris Bryant, a good day at the plate. Aelarius Montero, a good day at the plate. And the Rockies win. It wasn't flashy. We didn't check off every single thing we wanted to see on our opening day watch list, but the first thing on the list, the #1 thing on the list, we did see. Kyle Freeland was dominant. Kyle Freeland is locked in to start the season, and he's showing why he is one of the best, if not flexing for maybe the best pitcher on the Colorado Rockies. We'll talk about it all on Locked On Rockies.
Another game for San Fran where the offense explodes for a ton of runs. They get an easy win over the White Sox in the process. Locked On hosts from both teams are in with a recap.
The Giants pummel the White Sox again today. They add 5 more home runs. They hit 7 in the first game of the series. They tie a franchise record for the most home runs ever in a 3-game series, and they set a franchise record for the most home runs through the team's first 6 games of the season. And so, yes, it's been a little bit feast or famine. No, I don't think that really matters. It's more to me like you combine the good and the bad, and that's overall kind of what the team is and what they've done, and perhaps to some degree what to expect moving forward. And so overall, I think it's a very positive trend line for the Giants, who are also walking a lot. The strikeout rate is a little bit high, but it's going to keep coming down. There's just no way it's going to stay at that level. And just to be mashing the cover off the ball is always a good thing. There's just no exception. It is great to see the Giants teeing off on their opponents, even if it doesn't happen every game. On average, it's just a good sign. And so anyway, we'll break this all down on the next Locked On Giants later today, where it's your team every day.
The Chicago White Sox lost to the San Francisco Giants on the South Side Thursday afternoon, 16-6. Hey, I'm Nick Morawski from Locked On White Sox. Sox starter Lance Lynn, disappointing outing, 4+ innings, 8 earned runs, gave up 3 home runs. Sox in total gave up 5 home runs Thursday afternoon and 13 in the series to the San Francisco Giants. Another lopsided loss that the White Sox will have to try to forget as they now head to Pittsburgh for a 3-game series against the Pirates. Sox send Lucas Giolito to the hill on Friday. For more, check out the Locked On White Sox podcast.
Only a week into the season, we now have our second Diamondbacks-Dodgers series beginning. Last night's game did not disappoint. Locked On Dodgers and Locked On Diamondbacks join us with more.
That was a very good baseball game for the Dodgers, and especially for Dustin May. What's up? It's Jeff from Locked On Dodgers. Dodgers got timely offense, not just enough offense. They got a good offensive game. They scored 5 runs, and Dustin May was lights out for 6 innings, allowed just 1 run, and the bullpen was good enough. And we'll leave it at that. But the story of this game was Dustin May, second start of the season, and it was the first one he's allowed. He has been outstanding so far in his first 2 starts, both against the Diamondbacks, who I think are a pretty good team. We'll have to see what they do the rest of the year, but I think they're pretty good, and Dustin May has made them look not very good, and that's impressive. I called for a big season from Dustin May before the season started, and he is right on track for that. Pretty exciting stuff, and we'll have plenty to say about this game tomorrow morning on Locked On Dodgers like we do every weekday morning, so check it out wherever you get podcasts or on YouTube.
D-backs offense struggles to score runs as they drop the first game of the series rematch to the LA Dodgers 5-2. Miller Thomas of Locked On Diamondbacks here. This was supposed to be a fun D-backs home opener, but I don't know if you could tell, there's a lot of Dodgers blue in the stadium tonight. It was definitely a Dodgers home crowd, and that's not what we want to see as a D-backs fan, because we really needed that D-backs crowd tonight. D-backs were 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position, and it was sad because they had Go Dodgers, as you can see. Too many Dodgers fans around here. Another one. You had 3 doubles, you had a triple, but it didn't matter. Merrill Kelly tried to make it through 6, was not able to do it. Dodgers lineup was working him. D-backs hitters were not able to come through in the clutch, and unfortunately they lost, but guess what? Still 3 games left in the series, and it's still time to beat LA.
That's a wrap for this edition of Locked On Game to Game MLB. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On MLB and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.